Hello friends and welcome back. So in this session we are going to cover the Java related interview questions and answers. The very first and very basic question, how you can check the current version of Java in a server. Okay, so for that there is a very basic command which is called Java hyphen version. Okay, you have to run this Java hyphen version command and this will give you the current version of your Java. But important thing here, when you run the Java hyphen version, so this Java, okay, which is an execute binary, okay, for Java binary, okay, so this has to be in your class path. That means the path of this particular Java file should be in your class path. If it is not in your class path, this command will not work and you have to specify the complete location of Java. For example, you may have just installed Java in U01 JDK. Okay, so you need to specify the complete path U01 JDK and then bin and then Java hyphen version, then it will work. Okay, if it is not in your class path, okay, not class path, in fact it is, you can say, path. Okay, so if it is not in your path, so you should check what is the location of the JDK installation and then you can export the path variable. Okay, you have to export the path variable. Okay, and here you can specify the location of your this particular bin path. Okay, like u01 JDK and then bin. Okay, and then after that you can export the current path like this one. Okay, how can you validate which Java installation is being used by WebLogic? So now it may be possible that you have multiple Java versions has been installed in your system. It is scattered across the multiple file systems. You wanted to check which JDK or Java is in use by your WebLogic server, right? So how you identify that one? It's very straightforward and very simple. You can run the ps-ef command, which is an OS level command in the Unix, okay, to check your process, and you can grab the Java hyphen I and Java. So this will list all the processes which is using the Java. Okay, and in that process, whatever you are seeing on the screen, you can check the path of your Java. So whatever the Java is in use, okay, this will be at the very beginning of the line, or you can say very beginning of the process. It will be displayed here. So when you run the grep hyphen I Java, it will display you all the server processes that is running in your system. Maybe you have an admin server running, you have a managed servers are running, you have a node manager is running. So all the processes will be listed here. So at the very beginning of each and every process, okay, you will see which Java is in use. Which environmental variables need to set for Java in a WebLogic environment? So there are two important variables that we set specifically for Java, which is called the Java home, Java underscore home, and second is called the path variable for Java. Okay. So Java home refer to the location where you have installed the Java. Okay. For example, if you have installed the Java inside U01 and then JDK, so this installation location referred as the Java home. Okay. So you need to export this variable, export Java underscore home equal to the whatever the location where you have installed the Java, right? And path variable include the bin folder, right? Because the executable jar bin file Java file is there inside the bin folder, right? Inside the U01 JDK and then bin, right? We have the Java file. Along with that, we have a multiple different tools are available, right? We have a JStack which we use for taking the thread dumps, and then we have multiple files are here, right? JMC tool, and then multiple tools are there, right? So to execute these tools from anywhere, we can add this particular path in the path variable, right? So we just export the path variable. Okay, here we specify the location. This is a standard way to export the variables. So these are the two important variables that we specify related with the Java. Now, what is JVM, Java Virtual Machine? Okay, this is a concept of, sorry, this is a concept of Java language. Okay, because we know that every server run on own JVM. We have the admin server, we have multiple server, and every server run their own JVM. But what is the use of this JVM? What is the purpose of JVM? Okay, so we know about the Java language, that it is Java language is a platform independent. I will come to this definition later. So we know that Java is a platform independent language, right? And why we called it as a platform independent? Because you can develop the code anywhere. You can develop the code in Windows, you can develop the code in Linux, you can develop the code in some other any of the operating systems, okay, and you can run it anywhere. So earlier in the older long year back, okay, we had the programming languages, those were dependent on the OS. Like if you have developed the program in the Windows, you can run only it in Windows. If you have developed the program on Linux, you can run it only on the Linux. Okay, but now with the Java, we have make the language as a platform independent. Okay, and the reason of making the platform independent is your Java. So what we do whenever we develop the Java programs, so whether you are running on Windows, Linux, Mac OS, wherever you are going to run the program, we first install the JDK, right? So this JDK make it platform independent. And how it make it platform independent? So when we run the Java program, okay, specifically you can say when we compile the Java program. So suppose that developer develop the code. After that, they compile the Java program. After compilation, it creates a dot class file, right? For example, I have a payment code payment.java. After development, the developer will compile this particular file, and then it will create a class file, dot class file. And this class file we deploy as a code in the application servers, right? And when your application executed in the JVM, so what this JVM does, it convert this dot class, which is a byte file, into the machine code, right? Because we know machine only understands 0 and 1. So every programming language has to be converted in the machine language. So this Java JDK is a mediator which convert this class file, which is a byte file, okay, into the machine code. So that means you have a machine which has to execute the program. This is my Java program, and in between we have the JDK, Java JDK, right? So this JDK convert this class file, which is a byte file, into the machine language. And that's the reason this JDK make the application Java programming language as a platform independent. Okay, so this is the work of JVM, which is converting your class file, byte file, into the machine language. Okay, so JVM is a crucial software engine that enable computer to run Java applications by interpreting or compiling Java byte code into machine code. So this byte code is this dot class, which was created from the dot Java file after the compilation, and this is getting converted into the machine specific code so that machine can execute your program. And this is the work of Java JVM. Does each WebLogic server run on its own JVM or it is shared across multiple servers? So this is a bit tricky question just to confuse you, okay? That when we execute or when we start any of the server, for example, I am starting the admin server or I am starting the managed servers, okay? So there would be only a single JVM or each will have own JVM. This is a question. Okay, so every server run on its own JVM, right? Because we know when we start any server, if you start admin server, you will see a process of that in the OS. If you start manage server 1, there is a corresponding process on the your OS. You start the manage server 2, there would be a corresponding process in your OS, right? So that means every server start on its own JVM. Those are completely independent. How you can verify the certified Java version of a WebLogic server? So initially, if you remember in the initial beginning sessions, we have learned that we have a certification metric that we check before we build the environment. Like what is the certified version of JDK, what is the certified version of database, okay, when we are going to build the environment. So similarly, when you are installing the WebLogic, you have to understand which is the certified JDK for the WebLogic version that you are going to install. For that, you can just go to the your Google. You can search for the Fusion Middleware certification metrics. Okay, you will land up on the initial pages. You can download. This is the Excel sheet. Okay, and here you will see that the corresponding WebLogic versions and the corresponding certified Java. What is the certified Java version for that? Okay, so by this way you can check the certified version of Java for the WebLogic server. What are the best practices for installing a JDK for WebLogic? Now, when we install the WebLogic server, okay, we need to install the JDK. Okay, prior to that. So that means the JDK which we have installed is going to be referred by your WebLogic server. Now, suppose that I have installed the WebLogic, JDK in G01 and then uh, JDK like this one. Okay. So when we install the WebLogic, I will specify this location, right? So if I will specify this location, so by default, all this location is going to be stored in the configuration files. Configuration files. For example, set domain env.sh is a one of the configuration file. So this location is going to be stored in this particular configuration file, right? Now, many times you will see that what we do in the many environment, we just extract the JDK folder, and we extract the JDK folder, it create a folder with the name of version. For example, like JDK 1.8.0 underscore 411, something like that one, right? And many times you will see that the same location is referred in your configuration file. So when you configure your WebLogic with this direct location, this may create a problem during the upgrade. What would be the problem? Suppose that tomorrow you have a version JDK 11 and the folder name like something JDK 11.0 underscore 461, something like that. Now the previous installation was referring to this particular location. New JDK will refer to this location, JDK 11. So that means the path is completely changed here, right? So if your path is getting changed, so you need to modify your each and every configuration file wherever you have this particular JDK entry, right? So that is the reason when we install the JDK, the standard practice what we do, we extract this folder in a location, and after extracting, we create the soft link to this location with the name JDK. Okay, and the creation of soft link is simple: nl link hyphen s, and then your u01 and then JDK 1.8 or whatever the directory you have, and then JDK. So by this way, we can create a soft link with the name of JDK, which will be pointing to this directory. And then inside the configuration files, we point to this JDK. So this will simplify the upgrade later a time. The reason is that if you get a new folder later a time with the name of JDK 11, you can just delete this symbolic link rm JDK. This will only delete the link and then again recreate it. So you don't need to modify the configuration file, right? Because in the configuration file you will have the JDK, not the specific folder. So the standard practice that we follow during the installation of JDK is we extract the JDK installer like this one, and then we create a symbolic link with the name of JDK, which will be pointing to this particular folder. And why I have explained, because if later time you are going for the upgrade, so you don't need to modify your configuration files, you just need to delete this symbolic link and recreate it pointing to the new JDK folder. That's it. How can the JDK be upgraded for an existing WebLogic environment? So this is the same thing what I was talking about. So now we have two approach. Suppose we have installed like U01 and the name of JDK, and where this JDK is a symbolic link which is pointing to your JDK 8 or maybe whatever the versions you have, like this one. Second, you have directly pointing to this particular folder in your configuration files underscore 411, something like that one. Okay, so if this is the situation where you have a complete path in the configuration files, then you need to change this in each and every configuration file. Like you have to change the set domain env.sh, com env.sh, and there are few more files that you need to change manually. If you have this particular structure where you have created a symbolic link, as I have explained in the previous slide, okay, then you need to just extract the new folder, remove the existing symbolic link, and recreate it with ln-s, simple, and your JDK will be upgraded and you don't need to change the configuration files. What is Java standard trust store and how it is used, and what is CA cert in Java? So in JDK, when we install the JDK, okay, there is a file with the CA cert is created. So this CA cert file create the root certificate of the many certified third party authorities. Okay, so why we use the trust store? So whenever your applications make the connection to some third party applications like to a particular API, for example, maybe your applications is calling the google.com for any purpose. So this google.com, okay, root certificate has to be in this particular CA cert, right? So there are multiple third party verified certificate authorities, okay, and the root certificates of all the certificate authorities are by default in the CA cert. So when we install the Java, this CA cert trust tool automatically get created. This file contain all the trusted CA authority certificates, root certificates, okay, and with the help of that your application can able to make the trust. If any of the authority certificate is missing here, then you will get the handshake SSL handshake error in your application when it is going to make the trust for a particular website which is using a certificate for which the root certificate is not there in your particular CA cert. Okay, the default location is depend on, like if you are using the JDK, then location is Java home, lib security, and if you are using the JRE, not the JDK, then JRE lib and then security and CSR. This is the default location. So that means it enables Java application to authenticate servers using SSL TLS connections, preventing SSL handshake abstraction. So this is a default trust store for your JDK or trust store for your JVM. What is the difference between JDK SE and EE? So SE means standard edition, EE means enterprise edition. So very simple. Your enterprise edition is built on top of your SE. So this is the older versions. Okay, when the initially Java came in picture, that was a core Java at that time. Okay, which has a very limited functionalities that time. Okay, so Java standard edition is, you can say it is a core Java which has a limited functionalities. Okay, because the way it was initiated, okay, the purpose was completely different, like to design some set of programming languages, to design certain set of program with limited capabilities, to design some desktop and console based application. The scope or you can say features were limited in the standard edition. Okay, and then the later innovation was the enterprise world. Now we are in the enterprise world where we have the WebLogic server, where we have multiple application servers, and those have the advanced enterprise application grade functionalities, right? So that means there are a lot of functionalities that has been enhanced on top of your standard edition. Okay, for example, you are using the EJB component, we are using the JMS, we are using the JPA, we are using the JTA for transactions, right? There are multiple advanced features that we are using as of today in the enterprise world. So all these features are available based on the Java Enterprise Edition specifications. Okay. What is the difference between JDK and JRE? So JDK is referred as the Java Development Kit, Java Development Kit, and JRE is the Java Runtime Environment. So it is very clear from the name as well. JDK, Java Development Kit, that means a kit which is used for doing certain kind of a development. Okay, and JRE is runtime engine only for the execution. So when we develop the applications in Java, okay, we need certain toolkits, and that toolkits is available in the JDK. Okay, and when you are going to run the application which is developed using the JDK, we can use the JRE, which is contain only the runtime environment, which is used only to run the application but not to develop the application. So mostly you will see in the environment JDK is complete JDK is installed, right? But JRE is specifically for running the application that has been built using the JDK. Okay, so JDK purpose is to develop and run Java applications. JRE is just to run the pre-compiled Java programs. So this JRE plus development tool is like a compiler and debugger. It contains the development kit, so it has a compiler to compile the program, to debug the program, but this will not have all these features. Okay, so now that means it contains some tools like the Java C, which is a Java compiler, a debugger, okay, Java archiver, Java docs generator, multiple things that you need for the development of application. This will be not in the JRE. Okay, so JDK mostly used by the developers and programmers because they are doing the development of applications, and when this need to be execute in any of the environments, there we can install the JRE. Okay, so installing the JDK automatically includes JRE. So that means when we install the JDK, it automatically contains the JRE as well. Okay, but when you install the JRE, it will not contain the JDK. It is only the runtime environment. Okay, this is the difference between JDK and JRE. How can Java Flight Recorder be enabled on a WebLogic JVM? So Java Flight Recorder JFR is a functionality, okay, that is used during the troubleshooting, or maybe during the RCAs or during the incident handling. It is a tool which record the current statistics of your JVM. Okay, what is the status of your JVM at a particular moment when you are running the flight recorder? It create a file, JFR file, which file contain all the snapshot of your JVM, total number of threads, what is the heap utilization, and then what is the total number of stuck threads, hogging threads, and then multiple statistics of your JVM. It is collected by your JFR recording. Okay, so this JFR recording you need to enable explicitly till Java 8. Okay, so these are the two arguments: unlock commercial feature and flight recorder. These are the two options that you need to enable in your JVM argument, and in same order. First this one, second this one. If you will change the order, this will not work. So you have to first specify unlock commercial feature and then this one. Okay, so once this is done, okay, you can initiate the JFR recording. To enable this one, you have two options: either you can just update from the console, WebLogic admin console, or you can update this in the directly in the configuration files. Okay, like in the Java OPTS, you can specify this. So this is a standard way for adding any of the JVM argument in your configuration files. And if you want to change it from the admin console, you can just go to the servers, and then inside the server start tab, okay, you can add these two parameters. So these are two ways for updating this parameter. Okay, so sometime back what I heard is that now in the latest version this feature is going to be enabled automatically, and this may be going as a free. Now it is not a paid feature. Okay, so till 8, as far I know, is it is a it was a paid feature. From 8 onwards, like the 11, 17, or whatever the latest versions are there, okay, it may be free, but I'm not very sure on that part. You can just Google it on, and you will get some information about that one. How can specify cryptographic algorithm be enabled or disabled in the Java? Okay, so now for encryption and decryptions, okay, there are multiple cryptographic algorithms are there, which is by default used by your JDK or Java that you have installed. Okay, and that cryptographic algorithms are automatically enabled or disabled in your configuration files of the Java. So the configuration files is java.security. So this java.security file has multiple parameters for your JDK JVMs. Okay, and out of that few parameters are there that is specifically related with the algorithms that is used for the encryption and decryption of the content during the communication. JDK 8 and earlier, this is the location inside the Java home JRE lib security. From JDK 9 onwards, now it is inside the Java home conf security. Okay, these are difference between the location of file. Okay, so these are the certain area specific areas that you can see in the configuration java.security file to enable and disable different kind of algorithms, and that is depend on the multiple factors. So this need not need to be understand you how what are the purpose of each and everything. If you are getting this kind of a questions, okay, so you can just say that this the cryptographic algorithms are defined in the java.security file, and Java 8 this is the path, and but in Java 9 this is the path for this java.security file. So if you need to enable or disable any of the cryptographic algorithm, you just go to this particular section in the file, okay, and then comment out the particular cryptographic algorithm, and that will get disable or enable. So these are certain important interview questions and answer that you may encounter in the interviews.